and white trash talking.
Hi, I'm Doug Johnson, and I'm White Trash Talking. Today I want to look at a recent escalation in U.S. war plans towards China, which involves Japan and Australia, two strategic allies of the U.S. I'm talking about the ultimatum given to Japan and Australia by Elbridge Colby, Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, pictured on the right of this Financial Times article. This article states that Colby demanded that both Japan and Australia choose sides and declare their willingness to participate in any U.S. war against China over Taiwan. Basically, he's saying you're either with us or against us. Choose. Given that the U.S. itself is non-committal in its stance regarding Taiwan and the one China policy, this ultimatum is shocking, to say the least. It not only signals that U.S. attack plans are underway, but also that Japan and Australia are earmarked as U.S. proxies, much like Ukraine, to fight on the front lines and take the brunt of the damage. So far, both Japan and Australia have been vague and evasive about committing to war, which is reassuring. But KJ Noh, who is a journalist, political analyst, writer, and educator, specializing in the geopolitics and political economy of the Asia-Pacific region, has a more realistic view of this ultimatum and its significance in terms of historical context and the current danger.
Japan has said that, we don't respond to hypotheticals. And Australia also has been non-committal. But essentially, Colby has said to U.S. allies, what would you do in the event of war over China? He phrases it, or he tries to frame it as, quote, unquote, deterrence. But deterrence against what? China does not have war designs against Taiwan Island. It wants peaceful reunification with family, because Taiwan Island and the people on Taiwan Island are literally family. And certainly neither the Japanese people nor the Australian people want themselves to be fed into the wood chipper. None of them want war with China. China is still their greatest trading partner. Ask anybody, do you want war with China? Of course, we all say it is insane. But let's think a little bit about history, because history informs the current situation. The Japanese have had a one-party state since 1955. This is the LDP. And there was only a kind of 2-year hiatus from this one-party state domination of the LDP since its formation. That was, if I'm not mistaken, Hatoyama, who was a socialist, and they got rid of him right away. He was couped faster than you could sneeze. But the LDP is a coalition made from Japanese war criminals, unrepentant Japanese war criminals, and unrepentant Japanese industrialists, the corporations that fed the Japanese war machine, and the Japanese Yakuza, Japanese organized crime. This infernal triangle of war criminals, industrialists, and gangsters was brought together by the CIA, literally funded by the CIA. And then they were turned into the one-party state that controls Japan and essentially is a quisling government. Everything that Japan has done leading up to this moment has been to follow what the United States has been telling them to do. Most notably, Shinzo Abe essentially gutted the country's peace constitution and agreed that anywhere where the US went to war, Japan would also go to war as well. And traditionally, Japan has always served as a kind of a base, forward base for the United States. That's why you have, the vast number of troops. That's why you have, over 100 military bases in Japan and along the first island chain, the Ryukyu Islands, the Okinawan Islands that surround China. And some of them are very, very close to Taiwan Island. Yonaguni Island is practically, swimming distance. I mean, I'm exaggerating here, but it is the closest, most southern island, and it's the closest to China. And the U.S. has been placing Tomahawk missiles on these islands. Tomahawks are subsonic missiles. Subsonic missiles means that they're slow moving. They're not used for counter battery attacks. They are offensive weapons. So they place Tomahawks on them. Tomahawks are nuclear dual-use platforms, so they put tactical nukes on them.
Some of what KJ Noh says is news to me. That the CIA had a hand in setting up a subservient government in Japan comprised of criminal elements. I did not know that. KJ Noh goes on to describe Australia as similarly corrupt and obedient to the US.
Australia has always participated in US wars. They've always fought on the behalf of the US. They were a huge contingent in Vietnam War, and also during the Afghan War. Australians have been incredibly militaristic on the part of empire. They are a settler colonial state, just genociding the Aboriginal peoples left, right, and center, shooting them up for fun. And they are still a deeply, deeply oppressed group of people who have faced genocide. They have been almost, completely genocided, but they still resist and remain and survive in pockets. And every time Australia has tried to do the right thing, guess what happens to their government? They get couped. And so the US has a way and a habit of coupping governments and leaders, especially in its tightly controlled vassals who do not go along with the program.
While it appears that the U.S. has operational control of their new conscripts, Japan and Australia, the U.S. is actively preparing for tactical nuclear war and for first strike capability. In his 2015 policy paper for the Center for a New American Security, CNAS, Elbridge Colby, now working in the Pentagon, recommends the following nuclear employment policy. He writes, quote, U.S. employment policy should emphasize U.S. capability for and willingness to wield nuclear weapons discriminately, end quote. He continues, quote, the United States should also prepare for and make clear that it would, as appropriate, use its nuclear force in more limited fashion for more focused effect. In particular, the United States should develop capabilities, options, and doctrine to enable limited and tailored nuclear strikes, designed to demonstrate resolve and preparedness to escalate further to an opponent, degrade the enemy's capabilities to persist in the actions the United States was objecting to, end quote. In other words, if we object to what you're doing and you persist, we'll nuke you. The article goes on to say, quote, in a situation in which the United States has lost the conventional advantage, U.S. nuclear weapons should play a vital role in bringing a war the United States and its allies are losing to a tolerable close, end quote. It then goes on to name China, the PRC, as a place where the U.S. may lose its conventional advantage. Reading this left me speechless, not because it's uncharacteristic of the ruling elite's moral bankruptcy, but because it clearly signals the end of the U.S. empire and its Western predatory capitalism. This has always been predictable, but it's coming much sooner and faster than I expected. KJ Noh puts all of this into perspective.
The ruling imperial elite would rather see the end of the world than the end of their supremacy, of their power and privilege. I believe that they are capable of waging both tactical and strategic nuclear war. But I believe that we have to be aware of what's at stake. And we also have to be aware of how the ruling imperial elite think. Look at what is happening in Palestine. Overt genocide before your eyes. Children being shot to death every single day. People, parents, fathers being killed simply for the crime of wanting to feed their families, right? Literally being baited and shot and genocide, live streamed before your eyes. And the Western press, they simply deny it. They say it is not happening. The genocide, these murders, these killings are not happening. That is how depraved they are. And they believe that if they believe that they can get away with this, you know that they're thinking of much, much worse and much, much more depraved things for a world war. They believe that they're going to survive. They have underground bunkers, or they believe that they're going to be raptured, or they're already dead. Inside, they're already dead. You know, they're zombies, nihilists. You know, they don't believe in anything. They only believe in power. So that is what is so deeply, disturbingly dangerous and depraved about this current moment. Right now, just very recently, the US Air Force and the Space Force together did the first department level exercises since the end of the Soviet Union. They involve entire departments, that is to say, the entire Air Force and the entire Space Force. You know, they're rehearsing the kind of interoperability for complete and total war against China. And they name China. This is for preparation for war against China. So the momentum, the acceleration towards total war is extraordinary. Can we get through this moment? Can we go a few more years and get through this dark night? As soon as World War II ended, what did the US do? It went into a genocidal war on the Korean Peninsula. 1 out of 5 Koreans were killed in the north. I mean, if you think Gaza is bad, think of Gaza amplified 900 times. That's what happened in Korea. That went on for 3 years. Okay. And then as soon as Korea was ended, then you saw Vietnam, which was also a genocidal war. And then you also had Indonesia, where millions were killed. This is how the empire works. Empire has been genocidal in intent from inception. It has always been genocidal. It is, overtly committing genocide, and it is overtly preparing for genocide. It's overtly preparing for ecocide. But at core, it's, this unbridled desire, will to power, desire for complete and total control. And if they can't have it, they will destroy it. It's the school shooter mode. It's that, broken relationship. If I can't have you, I'll destroy you. If you're not subjugated to me, I will kill all of you off, even if I end up dead myself. I think that is the kind of omnicidal, suicidal mode that the empire is in right now. And this is why it's so dangerous. And it's why we have to take a stand.
Some will no doubt claim that KJ Noh is wrong or that he's grossly exaggerating, etc. But here's a 30-second clip of Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson of the U.S. Army, now retired, and former Chief of Staff to Secretary of State Colin Powell, who corroborates KJ Noh's legitimate concern.
We have created a situation where the empire, when it realizes how badly it is losing conventionally, will go to its nuclear weapons. And that frightens me because I know we'll do it. I know we'll do it. Been there, been in the discussions. I know we'll do it. We were the first to use nuclear weapons to kill other human beings. We'll be the last to use nuclear weapons to kill other human beings. And that frightens me. It truly frightens me that we are going to be the country that starts the nuclear holocaust.
I'll leave it there. Thank you for joining me. Please like and subscribe, and please feel free to comment. I'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye.